My name is Dale A Niehaus, and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew. I think he is doing a fantastic job. He is an advocate for anybody with disabilities. I highly recommend that if you get a chance to be on his talk show.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and you're watching the KeithAndrewNetwork. I'm here with Dale A Niehaus, and this is Season 7, Episode 641. That's right, 641. Today, we're here with another professional actor and a professional soldier. So first off, I want to say thank you for your service, and if it wasn't for people like you, only God knows where we would be.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that, very much so.
No, absolutely. The honor's all mine. Now, with that being said, first question I'm going to ask you is stay on the Army base thing because I am very passionate about that. My grandfather actually served in World War II. So the question I'm going to ask you, and his father served in World War II, World War One. So a little World War One, World War II. But that's not about me. This is about you. Who influenced you to join the Army, and how many years have you served?
Okay. I'm actually honorably discharged. I only served 6 years in the National Guard. That was 2016 when I actually got out. It was in my mid-30s. I just pretty much at the time, the wife and me just decided it was it. Who influenced me to get in? I had a grandfather that was in the Navy in World War II. I had another grandfather that was in Korea, a brother-in-law who served in Afghanistan, and I had some other uncles that had served that just never deployed. And I didn't enlist until I was 29, a little later in life, but I just always had wanted to do it just because I wanted to serve my country in some form or shape. And so at the age of 29, I enlisted and wondering if I could even get through it. And it was one of the best decisions I made in my life. It taught me discipline. It taught me about brothership. It taught me about all kinds of things. And I never deployed, but that's okay because I still serve with the intention of deploying. And now, because of that, anytime there is a good cause dealing with veterans, I always try to help out when I can, or even just moral support. And I still have brothers in arms, sisters in arms that still serve, and I still communicate to them and check on them and make sure that they're okay because, unfortunately, the suicide is extremely large in veterans in the military just because of all they go through. It's a mental drain on them as well. So I always try to be as emotionally supportive as I can for them when I can.
No, absolutely. Now, what was the catalyst to what made you want to do what you want to do? Like, you could have joined the Army, the Air Force, the Navy. What made you go in the direction that you went in?
Okay, as in the National Guard?
Yes.
Okay. It was basically because I was married with kids. We lived in Indiana at the time, and we didn't really want to travel all over the place from different bases because all of our family was back there, which since then we've moved out of Indiana. We live in Oklahoma now. But at the time, it just the best decision, 1 week a month, 2 weeks over the summer, so that way I could still have a regular job. She could be close to her parents, my parents, her sisters, just all of the family. So it just seemed like the best decision, but still allowed me to still be able to serve just kind of on a part-time basis.
No, absolutely. Now, you mentioned you were ready to be deployed, but in the back of your mind, did you really want, to go out with a gun and it sounds like fun, killing the bad guys, But mentally, were you mentally prepared for whatever was going to be thrown at you? Because you have to be in that mindset.
Um, yes and no. I mean, there's only so much mentally you can prepare yourself until you're actually in the firefight. I was prepared to go over there and serve and shoot if I had to, but I wasn't fully aware of all that went down over there. I had my brother-in-law served, and I had another best friend of mine that served, and they described what they went through and what they saw over there. So, in that sense, no, I wasn't prepared, and so in a sense, they had said that I was actually fortunate that I didn't have to deploy. I mean, any soldier should be prepared to deploy at any moment's notice. It still can't fully prepare you for it mentally, but they did say too, because some of them came back and they had to go through counseling, they had to go through all kinds of support groups because they still suffer from PTSD quite a bit. Not as much as they did, but they've seen a lot of stuff that happened over there that just changed them forever. In fact, it gave them a perspective on life that they never would have truly had they not went over. So that kind of answers the question why, yes, I was prepared because I knew it was my job, but also no, because I didn't know what to expect.
No, absolutely. And to go to another subject, but I do have more questions if you want to stay on your service,
Yeah,
but we can also go to another subject if you want.
Oh no, by all means, we can go over whatever. That's perfectly fine.
Now, the last question I want to ask you is mental health, because my talk show is about disabilities and all type of disabilities.
Yes.
How would you describe post-traumatic stress disorder? Because back in the day, now I'm sounding like I'm dating myself. Back then, they called it shell shock, or they had I can't even remember the other names. But how did that whole concept come up? And do you think, with everyone that do you think they're getting the best service that they can get?
I don't know the exact time that PTSD actually came up. I want to say it was after World War II at some point, but I'm not for sure. My grandfather, when he came back, because he served in World War II and he also was in the Navy, he drove the soldiers that got off the boats onto the shore. He actually drove those boats. So he had shells, everything else going on, basically going off around him. And when he came back, at times, he was a complete mess. He mentally just kind of reverted back to being a child again for a little bit. He was in a bad spot. Back then, they did have some support groups. It wasn't as known and accepted if you had issues. But he was able to go to church more. He started gardening. He found ways to cope. And he also started to learn sign language. Actually, no, he had correction on that. Sorry about that. He already knew sign language because both of his parents were completely deaf. In fact, when him and his brother were born, my great uncle, may they both rest in peace, they had deaf parents, so they had to learn it. So what he started to do is at a local church from our hometown, Indiana, he started to do sign language for anybody in the church that was deaf, so they could still go to service. But nowadays, people with PTSD, yes and no about getting the help they need. I know a lot of veterans that still suffer because, in my opinion, the VA it still doesn't completely do them justice. There's still a lot of them that still are suffering pretty bad. But I also know guys that I've served with that have gotten help. And part of it is a mix of maybe because the VA can be very understaffed, and I understand that too. But also it is also that mentality of asking for help, because anybody that's suffered any type of stress or PTSD or anxiety, whatever, that whole stigma of I'm less of a person because I'm reaching out for help. And I've suffered from anxiety and depression all my life. And up until recently, I had struggled with it in trying to get proper help, which I have, and I'm doing so much better because of it. But I still think there is still some issues with the system. Not always in every fathom and every circumstance, but I still believe there is so much that can be done to help our brothers and sisters in arms that are still serving and those who have served and just need some help to be able to get back on their feet.
No, absolutely. Now, going to my next question is, how many years? Now, you mentioned that you were in the army. So, what came first? Were you a professional actor, decided, what, I'm going to serve my country, or was it the fact, I did my time, now I'm going to kick back and do what I want?
Okay. No, actually, the acting didn't come till much later, actually. Sorry, I keep positioning myself on this bed here. Uh, no, I actually served before that, and I dreamed about being an actor since I was a kid. I was in this light in my room. I apologize. Let me get repositioned here. I deeply apologize. Okay.
But anything can happen live.
Okay. So, when I was a kid, I was in a couple of school plays, but I was extremely shy and scared of being in front of people and doing stuff. So, that kind of didn't happen when I was younger. And so when I served in the National Guard and then I got out, um, actually, while I was still in, I actually was in a play. It was the very first play. It was in 2015. It was by a local group in Norman, Oklahoma called the Namron Players. Basically, they're like a community theater. So I tried out for a role in that, got two very small roles. And after doing that, I realized how much I loved acting. And so that was April 2016 that I was in that play. In November of 2016, I got out of the Army, the National Guard. And then December was the first time I was a background and extra in a film. And it was this one called Lord Finn. It was Oklahoma based. And then after that, I started being in short films almost every month in 2017 and just kind of grew from there and there to where now I'm doing at least one project at least every month, it seems like. Um, Still a lot of short films, a lot of independent stuff, indie, but I'm also got a lot of network and connections all over the country, and I'm hopefully got some projects lined up that definitely could boost my career to the next level. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed about that.
Now, do you think having the Army experience in your back pocket gives you the extra edge or gives you the extra confidence? Because they always look for people with background experience. So if you having that, you can actually tell them what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong.
Yeah, actually it is. I mean, I haven't really got to portray one role. I did get to portray an Army colonel, which I never was an officer. I was just enlisted. When I actually got out, I was a specialist. But I always remember how you stood at attention, all that stuff. And so, yeah, I was able to give guidance on different projects if anybody had like Army in it, and kind of like, hey, this is how you properly salute, how you properly stand, what you say, and different things. So it definitely has helped with that and the confidence. One thing in the military that we were always told is confidence, and it definitely taught me to quit being afraid so much. And I think without that, I still would have followed this, but I wouldn't have stepped out of my comfort zone and actually went and auditioned for that very first play. And if I wouldn't have done that, I probably wouldn't be here today.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I want to ask you is about. Actually, I was going to ask you about social media, but we can get that in a couple minutes. But let's stay focused on disabilities. Have you ever, besides me, obviously, have you ever worked with people with learning disabilities? And are you willing to work with people with disabilities?
Yes, actually, I have. Actually, growing up, most of my life, the schools I went to, there was always kids that were in special education. And growing up in the 80s, it wasn't always the nicest place for them. But I was always one of those kids that always would actually like try to help them, would talk to them and treat them basically because I didn't think they were any different from me. Some people like made fun of them, and I never liked that, I never understood that. I'm like, don't call them names or any of that. They're people. And so starting out from there, I always had a kindness for people and trying to help. And then back about 8 years ago, I actually had the chance to work for a company that helped. We went to a group home where people ended up staying that had mental disabilities and some physical, and we assisted them with their daily tasks. But just overall, just trying to make them feel good. And so, because of that, it definitely taught me about kind of different disorders, different things, and kind of how to like if somebody is having a really bad day, that you kind of have to handle things a little differently at times depending on what's going on. But I most definitely would work with anybody, disability or not, because I've seen some really talented individuals that others, if they weren't open minded, will look down upon them. And I just don't think that's right, because I think everybody on this planet has special gifts. And I've seen some people that had no legs, that had the mentality of a 6-year-old, that have done some of the most amazing things I have ever seen. So, to answer your question, yes, I would be glad to work with anybody with a disability.
No, absolutely, and I feel the same way. Not to sound like an asshole or anything, but yeah, anyone who's like missing arms, legs, or half their body, it does bother you to an extent. And I know it doesn't mean that they're any less important as anyone else. But I'll give you a personal story about me.
Okay.
Personally, that stuff bothers me. And people are like, well, you're supposed to be an advocate for people for disabilities. I am. I'm turning myself into an example to show you that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. It's a proof of them. It can still amount to something. So
Right.
hashtag break the labels. Personally, on a personal level, seeing somebody without an arm or especially half their body, that shit bothers me. And I guess, I'm a wuss, I'm a pussover. And a lot of people would say I walk around with my emotions on my sleeve. But it's kind of like, what irritates me is people are like, well, you say you're an advocate, but you can't look at that person over there. It's like, let me ask you, does that sound hypocritical?
No, really don't think it does, because, and I also feel that everybody is entitled to their opinion as well. I mean, I don't think that's hypocritical at all. I mean, in a sense, you're also not treating them differently or giving them special privilege. I mean, if that'd be like saying, if somebody that ended up, I don't know what I was trying to say. But no, I don't think that's hypocritical at all. I think it says that's just how you feel, but it doesn't mean you're hypocritical about people being an advocate for people with disabilities. No, not at all by any means. You're very much entitled to your opinion, and I believe anybody is.
No, absolutely. And, hell, throw myself underneath the bus like I always do. I'm on the spectrum of being retarded because I read and learn at a fifth grade level. And this goes back to your acting. Now, I'm going to ask you about this.
Okay.
For me, say like you're a producer, he's like, oh, Keith, I see you want to be an actor and everything. Tell me about yourself. Be personally about it. I read and learn at a fifth grade level. I don't have the best reading skills. I
Hmm.
hesitate more than the normal person.
Okay.
Um, I never went to college because I was never qualified. And I suffer from depression and social anxiety.
Hmm.
People are like, oh, well, that's great and everything, but you said you're a talk show host. Do you write your own script? No, I fill it out. Like, I fill out, the energy, between you and me. If it feels good, I just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Yes, I do occasionally write some questions where I'm going to ask you, okay, so you mentioned you served in the Army. You mentioned you were a professional actor. So I would write down certain key points saying, okay, we're going to talk about this, but also add disability to it. We're going to ask you about the Army. We're going to ask disability for that. So I learn at my own slow pace, but do you think just because a lot of people joke about this, this one guy who I interviewed 7 years, almost 7 years ago, said Jackie Chan doesn't read Chinese, and that he doesn't read scripts. He ad libs everything. So he is a perfect example, for as far as I know, of Jackie Chan does not have a disability, but he doesn't read a script. So if he can do it, does that make it okay for other people who don't or do have a disability that or don't have the best confidence of confidence or reading skills? Do you think that should make anyone different or?
Not really. I mean, there are some films that a script has to be followed, but it doesn't necessarily necessarily mean that if there is an actor that is a great actor or actress, but they just have the biggest trouble following a script. If the director or the writer of that particular project is okay with that particular actor or actress ad-libbing and it works, then no, I don't feel that's any different. Um, but like I said, just depending on the project or whatever, sometimes a script has to be followed, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that is completely 100% has to be done like that all the time. I've known a lot of people that have completely ad-libbed their stuff. I can't think of anybody like, well, Jackie Chan, like you said, but any other like famous actors I can't think of off the top of my head. But there's a lot of them that have done that has worked. So I think it just kind of depends on the particular project, but I don't see how it's any different either.
No, absolutely. Now it's the last 10 minutes. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And with that being said, I'm going to pass the show over to you once we come back.
Hi, I'm Deborah Jensen.
I'm Linda Collins.
Hi, I'm Marissa Joy Davis.
This is Michelle Wong.
And I'm Nancy Rose.
My name is Brandy Hunt. And
hello, my name is Raven Wynn.
Hi there, my name is Giovanna Vidal.
Hi, I'm Monica Thomas.
Hi, I'm Paisley Blackburn.
I'm Ashley Burgess.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Abney.
Hi, I'm Sharon Spank.
Hey, this is Samantha Moore.
Hi, I'm Melody Jones.
Hi, my name is Becky Yee.
Hi, you're watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Season 7, I almost said 400. Season 7, 641. That's right, 641, Season 7. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network. It's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's pretty much out there. It's like you look for it. It's like I don't know how you would describe it. It's like if you fart, someone's going to smell it. So if you look hard enough, you're going to find it. But with that being said, I'm here as Mr. Dale. I just want to say, for the last 10 minutes, I'm going to pass the show over to you. But there's one subject that you want to talk about. But before we do that, I just want to make sure you're enjoying yourself. We talked about during the commercial break, was there anything I said, anything stupid? But the reason I do commercial breaks is I try to make it more official. Say, okay, hey, we're taking a break. Make sure the guest is happy. Make sure we covered everything we need to cover. So it's pretty much a normal conversation. You're making a new friend out of it. And we're both, especially me, I'm showing you, hey, look at someone who has a disability. Look at what he's able to accomplish.
Yes.
But with that being said, I'm going to pass the show over to you after you ask this one last question.
Sure.
And that is social media. Can social media make you or break you? Now, you mentioned you were in the Army, so social media, it's, I guess, kind of relevant because you don't need social media in the Army. But when you came out, because you were a professional actor for a couple of years, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Hit Record, Stage 32, Blogger, or whatever media are out there, what are some of the few that you would recommend, and what would you say for the ones that actually helped you?
Okay. Well, the two that I've mainly used, in fact, the only two, which I'm not saying that there's so many other platforms out there. I've used Facebook and Instagram. Number one, because they're so easy for me to use. But for number two, I know several people that use Twitter to communicate on there. It's not really my thing necessarily, but it does work because I know a lot of actors that use Twitter that just put something real quick, whatever. But Instagram and Facebook, I just prefer to use those because I can get on there and I can make a post. I can post pictures. I can post videos if I want. but that's a majority of the people I communicate are on Facebook and Instagram. And I'll put it to you this way. I moved out to Oklahoma and knew maybe 400 people on Facebook. Now I am between 2,800 to 2,900 on Facebook. I have grown connections. Since being in acting, I've grown connections all over the state, all over the country. I have people that are following me, and I have friends that are in other countries as well, the UK, even Russia. I believe to me that social media, especially when you are in any type of entertainment, is extremely necessary because it's all about networking, and that's where everybody networks anymore, especially on Facebook and Instagram, and even Twitter too. But Instagram and Facebook, that's where I do a majority of my networking. In fact, that's where I found a lot of my acting gigs when I'm not getting through my agent. When I first started out, I didn't have an agent, and that's where I found a lot of them. It was student films, independent filmmakers that, hey, I need somebody to play this person, and I can't pay you, but I'll feed you and give you your material for a reel or whatever. And so networking on social media has been key for me able to grow and to get to where I am nowadays.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you, passing the show over to you, was there anything you wanted to talk about, anything you wanted to promote? This is your time. Passing the show over to you.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Let me see what I can promote. There is a local show being made. It's almost done filming. It's actually going to be a supernatural series called Hunting Jessica. It is being filmed in Newkirk, Oklahoma, and it is being done by Ramon Martin Film Productions. It is based off of a book series called The Hunting Series by Elizabeth St. John. It's basically a supernatural. It's got like vampires, werewolves, and it's basically kind of like I think the fans that used to watch True Blood will actually really like this show. I am in that. My character is kind of a spoiler alert, so I can't really mention the name of my character. He is just called Mystery Man for right now on IMDb. But it has the potential to really blow up like True Blood did. So that is one that I also like to promote because it has some actors that are based out of Oklahoma, that live outside of Oklahoma. But there's a lot of Oklahoma local actors that are in that. So I'm always trying to promote that. Then coming in August, there is a film that's going to be produced in Oklahoma. It's called Faith Restored. It is about a pastor who loses his beliefs, his faith. And he ends up basically going on a journey after he hits his head back to the first Easter. So it's a very well-driven, dramatic-driven, emotionally driven film about somebody that loses their faith and basically refines it again. So those two right there are Oklahoma made, and I truly believe that they have the potential to really inspire. And so I would love to promote those. So absolutely, I definitely would keep an eye out for those. They're both listed on the IMDb website.
No, absolutely. Now, the last thing I do want to talk to you, and like I said, I have a couple questions for off the air. But the first thing I want to ask you is how I wrap up all my interviews. When I first approached you, actually, want me to, I can ask you this first. Usually I say before last, but what the hell, right?
Okay.
When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your honest first reaction? What made you say yes? And how do you feel now, and would you recommend it to other people?
Well, my first reaction is because I didn't kind of, anybody that I don't know personally, I'm like, hey, you know what, I'll give it a shot, but I didn't truly know when you first approached me. I kind of had an idea of what it was about, but I didn't really know. And so just going into there, I'm like, okay, we'll get on there and we'll talk and everything else. And then coming on here, I truly believe that you are an advocate for anybody with disabilities, but that you also love to get people on there who, in general, just are trying to do good to inspire others, to spread positivity, to just overall just work that anybody can work together. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter, like I said, if you have you have trouble reading, or you in general just have trouble with basic society or whatever. It doesn't matter. I truly believe that anybody can do whatever they want as long as they put their mind to it, and that isn't just including entertainment or the film industry or whatever. It's anything in life. I truly believe that you can do anything you put your mind to, but you also have to be willing to do it. And life is too short. So follow your dreams, do what you want, and don't be scared to do it, because before you know it, it's over on this planet. And so God put us here for a purpose, or whatever you believe. And I truly believe to follow your dreams and get out there and do what you want, because you never know when you're going to be the next, I don't know, Dwayne Johnson, or the next Einstein, or the next Nobel Peace Prize winner. But just never be afraid to do what you want.
No, absolutely. Now, how can people follow you on social media? You mentioned Facebook, Instagram, but are you also on LinkedIn or any other sites that we did not cover?
You know, the LinkedIn, I think I'm on there somewhere, but honestly, I need to check that again because it's been a while. The Facebook, what's funny is me and my dad both have the same name, but on Facebook, I'm located under Dale A Niehaus. And Niehaus is spelled Niehaus. And it'll show my picture, and it'll show like I have a lot more followers than my dad. So my dad's like a 62-year-old, 65-year-old musician. So we look a little different. On Instagram, my tag is a little longer, but it's the motto I live by. It's helping others is the greatest. I follow that motto my whole life, and it's all just one word. So on Instagram, if you look that up, you'll find me right away.
No, absolutely. Now stay tuned. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up, I want to make sure our viewers follow you on Instagram. Our names will be on the bottom of the screen. So they can also, if you get like a YouTube channel, I definitely will promote that for you. But make sure everyone out there to follow the Keith Andrew Network, and stay tuned for bigger and better things.